Yeah, every home game's so important this time of year, and playing a Colorado team who was fantastic in the second half last time we played them, and we were really in a bad spot down the stretch because of the way they compete. So big home game, and excited for the opportunity.
Obviously, the last game, foul trouble kind of led to them coming back late, but you were in control for a majority of that game. How are you going into this game differently?
I don't know if we're going to do anything differently. I mean, I think the biggest thing for us is just how can we continue to improve. And we got a lot of guys who I think are pivotal for us moving forward who haven't got a lot of minutes. And specifically, Josiah and Luke. And so just how do we keep integrating them in the game, and how do we have an urgency to get better defensively? And I thought we did some positive things against West Virginia. And anytime you play on the road, you got to manage the game in a way with your competitiveness. And I thought our competitiveness to start the game, and Coach Hodge said it, but just our ability to get 50-50 balls and like compete on the glass to start that game really set the tone. And so in this league, especially playing a great team like Colorado offensively, you can't give those guys good looks. And if they do, then I think they just have a lot of different offensive players that can make you pay. And they've won 2 of their last 3 games and have played well offensively in those games. And so, our attention to detail on defense was what it needed to be against West Virginia, and just got to keep improving in that area.
And Donovan has been such an efficient 3-and-D player this year. Before him last season, you had Kerwin. I'm just curious, how important is it for you to have a guy like that on your team every year?
Well, I think Donovan's been tremendous, and efficient's probably an understatement. I mean, he's been just so consistent in his approach every day. And he's a vital part of our team, but I think it starts with his character and his competitiveness. He's got a great balance, and he brings it every day. I mean, he doesn't feel well, he practices hard. He's got, something going on with his hand, he's out there shooting balls to start practice and warming up. I mean, he's just a pro in regard to his approach, and there's a reason why he's had such great success. It's because of his consistency and his competitiveness.
And last time y'all played Colorado, the 73-71, would you say that this team is a much different team than even a month ago?
Oh, no question. I mean, Colorado's made some pretty drastic changes since we played them, and they've gotten better. They actually had, a guy that didn't even play against us that's playing now, who we know well, and just really like they're going with the younger group. They're going with different lineups. I think that can cause you different problems in different ways, and you can tell that they're making steps toward more wins. And really impressed with how they're competing.
Coach, I know you got a game, but just in case it doesn't get brought up in post game tomorrow, are you guys staying in Arizona for both games? You are? Okay.
Yeah.
How do you handle that time in between on a road trip like that?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to handle road trips, and just for example, at West Virginia, a couple years ago, we got stuck. I mean, you can make plans, but you better be prepared to change and adapt. And I think for us going into this Colorado game, we're just going to do everything we can to make sure we're as healthy as we can be and as competitive as we can be, and that's going to be the same no matter where you play and when you play.
One last looking forward. I apologize. Just how about that late tip against Arizona State? That's pretty unusual. How do you approach that and handle that?
Yeah, in our league, because I think TV has been tremendous this year. I mean, we're on so many different networks. You play at different times. I think the key to it is how you put yourself in position going into it where the guys know this is when we're going to play and what time we're going to play. And, I mean, our team, we practice in the morning, we play late at night. These guys are in the gym till midnight shooting shots. I mean, the way our approach is, these guys are young. They love hooping. They don't care when you tell them it's tip time. As long as they get to play in a game, they want to play.
Coach, you talked about integrating Luke and Josiah into the rotation now, and you made a comment last week about sometimes when you put new guys in, they have a natural dip that typically happens in November, but it's happening in February. Just where you're kind of seeing, what are the strides that you're seeing that they're taking in practice that they're kind of incorporating into the game that is making a difference? Because you said both of them are really elevating the team.
Yeah, I think what we saw at the end of the game with Luke's ability defensively, I mean, I honestly, when I've seen him in practices, he has kind of a slower start, and then the more he plays, the more he ramps up, and the more he gets competitive, and the better he plays. And so, I mean, that's where just keeping some consistency in seeing him compete is really important. And the same thing with Josiah. I mean, I think he got right out of the box, and now we've been through 7 practices together going into last week and going on 8. And I think what was difficult for him going into that game against West Virginia is they play such a slower pace. And I mean, I looked at our guys in timeouts, and I'm really consistent with how I communicate with them in regards to their energy level. And we've had too many conversations where they can tell me, like, I need to break, you know. And we've had a bunch where we've made some intentional decisions. And the game against West Virginia, we played JT more at the 4 with Luke, and so we tried that combination some. And JT was like, I feel great. And so from a competitive standpoint, I think the pace of play, the physicality of play, how they move offensively, what we're requiring of our guys, every game we're just going to take it a possession at a time with a plan going into it of how we want to get everybody involved, but it doesn't always work out that way. And a great example was Tyree wasn't feeling great. And before the game, we felt like he was going to be fine. And then when he got in the game at halftime, he was sick. You know, I mean, just it's hard to know. And so more depth at that forward position wasn't necessarily what was helpful against West Virginia. We needed more guard depth. And but no, we're excited because we got some options, and they have improved dramatically. And today's practice, I thought Josiah Mosley was really, really good. And so hopefully we can find some different ways to integrate him. But we just haven't had enough opportunities. You don't want to play guys at too many different positions, honestly, because they can't be great. And so if we can't practice them at a particular position going into the game with such limited practices, it's hard for them to have the success because you see them thinking instead of playing. And honestly, we're at our best with this group when they're repped, when they're competitive, and when our motors are all the way turned up.
You touched on it a little bit, but how big was it to get that combo of Luke and JT together on the floor, knowing what you kind of have ahead, including this week, but also the ability to offense, defense sub late in games like that?
Yes. I mean, I'm telling you, the greatest improvement that I need to make is just how do I help these guys understand what we need from them going into a game when now we have a lot of different options. I mean, you can go down the line. I mean, Nolan Groves, Leon Horner, you know, it's just like everybody's kind of in this mix where we need practice time to get them opportunities to see with the different lineups now that we have of people. And to your point, I mean, Luke is such a difference maker for us at the rim and JT has improved so much defensively, and his skill level's gotten so much better, and he's moving great, and he's such a good perimeter defender that we do have some different options. But every scenario requires an offensive, defensive understanding of time, score, and how important each decision is. And so getting JT and Luke together on the floor is going to be huge for a lot of reasons. But more specifically defensively because of that size and length, I think that's a lineup that we need to be able to go to and hang in there with on offense too. And so that's where those guys need to improve because they're not used to playing with one another. I think defensively, honestly, they're plug and play. I mean, they both have strengths, and JT's switchability, he almost may be a better perimeter defender than he is anything. I mean, to his credit, he can really move, and he wants to do it. It's just offensively, when you get those two guys out there, we just don't have very much experience in pivotal moments to get, I think, an efficient possession.
This is the first year of the Big 12's mandate availability report. Now it's kind of happened back-to-back weeks where Christian got out after not being on. Kansas had it last night. Do you think that 90 minutes before is probably too far ahead for something like that? Because stuff can happen in pregame too where he's not on the report. Well, this happened between then.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. the eligibility report for games in the Big 12, I think, is great intentions, and I'm all for it. You know, what we've done in that 90 minutes before tip when we make a decision, I think all these guys are going to plan to warm up and play. And it's weird because we do that at the 60-minute mark. And then sometimes they don't get out there till the 50-minute mark because of treatment or whatever else is happening. And every indication I got with Christian was he was playing, that he was going to warm up and that he was fine, because at 90 minutes he was getting in the hot tub to get warmed up, and that's what kind of triggered all this. And so I do think there's some difficulty with any scenario, even if you did 60 minutes. And I'm not saying that, but 60 minutes to me is like, we're going to get him out there and warm him up. And I had no indication that he wasn't going to play. And I mean, I didn't really get an idea that he wasn't going to play till we got closer to like 25 minutes, because I think we all thought he would, you know, he got in the hot tub and he was going to be all right. Well, it dominoed at that point. That actually made it worse. And then 30 minutes out was when I was starting to feel like maybe this isn't going to happen for the first time. And so I think it's going to be difficult no matter what. And I think people's intentions are right. I mean, you think Darren Peterson doesn't want to play against Arizona in that kind of game, you're crazy. That dude's a competitor. You saw it against us. I mean, that dude was probably trying to do everything he could to play, and you get out there and you start to warm up and you just kind of feel the repercussions of it. And your intentions, and you want to have the best intentions, and we experienced it last year. And I just think it is difficult any way you look at it, you know, because these guys really do want to play. Christian Anderson wanted to play with all his heart when we played Kansas here. And he tried everything. He was in the warm-up gym back there at the 30-minute mark just trying to stand up and shoot some standstill shots to see if he could start to feel better, with the doc standing right there next to him and one of our coaches standing next to him. You know, so, I mean, there's just a lot that goes into this, and I know it's probably about as good as it can get right now, and maybe we can talk about that in the spring, but there's no perfect process for that when everybody, I think's intentions is to play, and you want to think the best of people, and things can take a turn in a short amount of time, which it did for Christian, and that's the only thing I can speak to.
Then just one more kind of big question, big picture one for you. We talked a little bit about when you were linked to that other pro prospect that was kind of looking to come back, but now with the Alabama situation kind of rolling out now, where do you kind of stand on that? Do you think this should be once you declare for the draft sort of thing, you're gone? Do you think there should be that window? Like, do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, good question, and you're specifically asking a question about just the NCAA rules, professional NBA draft, how we've done it. And it's just been clear for us going into this season that if you declared for the NBA draft and went through the process and went after the deadline, that you couldn't come back to college. So, I mean, I just think everybody was going off of those rules, which I understand that didn't play in the NBA and didn't sign an NBA contract. I mean, there's all kind of loopholes that I think everybody's going to exploit. And so, honestly, I don't have an opinion on it because I haven't given it any more thought. I mean, I was a junior college coach when I was 26, and I tried to bring in 4 different guys that semester who I thought maybe could help us play. And I had different ranges. I had someone that had academics. I had some people that had, you know, I just every scenario you can think of, we tried to acclimate somebody, and it never worked for me. So personally, I wasn't really putting any stock in trying to figure out how to bring anybody at semester because we had all these great options. And as much as people said you ought to look at every option, I just wasn't seriously ever looking at anything because I personally have never had success trying to do it. And so, and I loved the guys that we had that weren't healthy yet. And I knew that those guys had been around us and I knew what their potential was. So I didn't think anybody was better than what we had here. And so that's where, you know, I just haven't given it all that much thought. And I know that there's going to have to be some specific changes, and we're all going to have to really come to the table and try to figure out how we can make this work with all the different options now because everybody's getting paid. So you can't say that. And what are going to be the clear lines that we choose, man, it's going to be I think it's going to be pretty hotly debated in regard to that. And it doesn't feel like there's a clear line right now. In regards to what, but we know how we've been trying to operate. That's the hard part is when there are decisions made that are actually contradicting what we agreed upon going into the season. And that's where I'll tell you we've got some work to do. Appreciate y'all. Good to see you.